Hi, Jeremy Cordeaux in the Court of Public Opinion. I'm just on air here to let you know that we'll be live streaming the Court of Public Opinion every Friday between 9 o'clock and 12 on jeremycordeaux.com. Please join us. We'd love to have you.
The information contained within this podcast does not consider your personal circumstances and is of a general nature only. You should not act on it without first obtaining professional financial advice specific to your circumstances.
Paul Atherton is an ex-Wall Street advisor on a mission to help young people win back their financial power, wealth and security. He does this by helping them understand the hidden world of finance, risk and investments, helps them figure out how it impacts them, and to seize the opportunities to make it work to their advantage. This is Paul Street Journal. Thanks for joining me, Paul. Just had a question about interest rates, because I understand how they affect me and I paid them before, but I don't really understand what or why they are. Can you help me out?
Oh, that's a great question, Tim. What is interest rate? What is it, and how is it calculated, and what is good and what is bad? I mean, we just get inundated, don't we, through television telling us what fantastic interest rates are, and it can be bamboozling. So let's get into some of the details. I think at the very start, how do banks, lenders come up with what the interest rate is? Well, there are really two factors. There is the risk-free rate and the risky rate. And the risky rate and the risk-free rate are added together to come to the total interest. So let's break that down a little bit. So the risk-free rate is the cost of the bank borrowing the money. Now, investment theory says that interest is to compensate for the loss of the use of the asset or the money, but really it is how much it costs the bank to borrow the money effectively from the government. So the risk-free rate is a free borrowing cost that the bank does from the government. But the risky rate is different. Now, the risky rate is rather large, and this is the major component of any loan. And this is an interest charged by the bank for the risk or the fear that you might not pay back the money, or the bank might not get their money back. So this means that interest rates for credit cards, for example, are higher than for a mortgage. Well, why? Because a bank can always take the house back, whereas for a credit card, the bank can't exactly take back the coffee you just bought at the cafe, on your credit card, that is. So the risk-free rate is unchanged, or very, very small and very consistent, but the risky rate changes depending on the risk of the bank perceived of getting its money back. And the fact is that many people default. They stop paying. It happens. It's life. And their credit cards go into default. They can't pay back their credit cards. And the banks do not get their money back from those individuals. So again, to compensate for this statistical expectation, this real expectation, the bank will charge higher interest rates for loans that have higher default rates and low recovery. So that of a loan or a credit card will have on a credit card we'll have much lower recovery and a much higher default, and therefore a higher interest rate. The converse could be true. A mortgage would have a very low default rate and a very high recovery rate, and therefore the interest rate is much smaller. So interest rates are extremely important for your financial freedom and security. I can't emphasize this enough. If you learn one thing, it should be interest rates. And the interest rates are charged by lending institutions, and they can be extraordinarily high. And I personally encourage my clients to consolidate their loans or all debt that they have into the smallest possible interest rate possible. And for your listeners, Tim, if you feel that you can't afford to live without borrowing money, and that sometimes is the case, then ensure your loan or your interest that you're paying is at the lowest possible rate. And I would encourage people to spend some time to shop around, because you will find most institutions are eager to take your business, particularly if you've got a really clean credit history. So that's it, Tim. Interest rates. It's taken up by a risk-free rate and a risky rate. And mostly it's the risky rate, which is dependent on the probability of default and how likely they are to recover should there be a default. Lots goes into it, but ultimately We need to get them as low as possible. So there you go, Tim. Interest rate.
Paul Street Journal.
Hi, Jeremy Cordeaux in the Court of Public Opinion. I'm just on air here to let you know that we'll be live streaming the Court of Public Opinion every Friday between 9 o'clock and 12 on jeremycordeaux.com. Please join us. We'd love to have you.